Hello, everybody who's watching this video. This is going to be a new format, perhaps weekly, at least semi sometimes. This is the Part Out Podcast, the POP. I'm here with esteemed individual, good friend of the channel, Nikki Zeljo. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, David West. Thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing so good. I'm glad we were able to make this work. I know
Yeah,
you're a busy man.
super
I'm
busy.
I'm glad we found time to make this work.
I mean, it did take us a month,
Yes.
at least. I don't know how long. I don't remember when that was. We first planned on doing this, but
Um,
um,
in any case, we're here. And I guess before we sort of get into the meat and bones of the thing, I'll just introduce myself for those of you not familiar who haven't seen any of my older videos. I'm David. I own and operate DNA Bricks on Bricklink, Brick Owl, and the physical retail location here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I've been selling for over a year now online and just opened the retail December 1st of 2021. And Nikki,
I'm Nikki. I have been selling on Bricklink for a long time, kind of on and off, but am recently starting to take it seriously. I think for the most part, I'm a hobby seller, though.
but
I'm not one of the big boys yet.
you can see the seriousness in the acros there.
Yeah, I'm finally trying to fill up these acros. So
Yes, very very nice.
end of January, this whole row will be filled. I have the top two and like half of this one full.
Hey, that's great.
Yeah,
And you went with the Sharpie numbering.
I went with the Sharpie numbering. I felt like it was easier and it took less time and less effort. But
Yes.
yeah, I am not a big label guy, as you know. I'm only just now getting a label printer as of today.
Yeah. I've hand numbered now 3,500 drawers.
That's a lot of drawers.
Yeah,
I'm
and
on like drawer 105.
my new endeavor, I might even warn you now to do it, is to I'm writing now the number also on the top tab.
Oh, I was actually gonna start doing that because I
Yeah.
put these all. I have I have very limited space, and so they're next to my bed. Um, and yeah, I was gonna put the number on the top tab. No, I wasn't even gonna do it on the side of the drawer for the bottom ones.
Yes, because it's you don't need to bend down all the way to see the number.
Yeah.
I'm learning that. So every time I pull a drawer and fill it now, I add the number. So I'm sort of grandfathering them in that way.
Yeah.
All right. So the sort of theme of this episode is a beginner's guide, because it's never been done before. No one's ever covered this, of Bricklink and selling Lego by the piece and parting out on this podcast. So I guess you could go first, or I could go first. We could just sort of walk the lovely viewers here through our personal, I guess, journeys selling Lego.
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to start since I did start
Yes.
a long time ago.
Yeah, you actually have pre DNA bricks.
Pre DNA bricks. I think that you passed me probably within your first week though of selling. Um, yeah. So I mean, I collected and built Lego as a kid. And I first found out about Bricklink in somewhere in the late 2000s from a friend's dad who was an AFOL, and he was like, "Yo, there's this cool site, and it's called Bricklink." And I made an account under my mom's name. I first sold Lego through my mom because I wasn't allowed to. I was under 18 in 2009, and I think I
Wow.
just would sell to like my friends. But I had like 10 pieces in my store probably.
So not shipping in 2009.
Not shipping in 2009. I first started shipping stuff on Bricklink. So this would have been in 2013 or 14. I had a neighbor down the street who was selling his whole collection, and my brother and I went down and looked at it, and it was a bin, and it was all these Harry Potter sets from like the first wave where they had
Yellow skin.
not yet. It was the first Flesh wave.
Oh, that's a good wave.
Yeah, anyway, he had a bunch of old Harry Potter and Star Wars, and we were like, oh, this is cool. And I think I paid him $150 in cash. Um, and I was like, I'm gonna sell. I didn't tell him this, but I was gonna sell it, and my goal was to make double what I paid for
Yeah.
it. And so I brought it back up to my house, and I started selling. I would, make sure the sets were complete. I sold them as sets. After that wave, I had sold a bunch of sets and minifigures, and I don't think I ever really sold parts. But 2018, summer of 2018. I was in Ohio, and I was at a thrift store, and they had a bunch of like bigger Atlantis sets, and that one Pirates of the Caribbean set where they have houses. Bought them for like
London Escape.
yes, that one. They were like $5 or $7 each, and it was like
Nice.
5 sets, and I bought them all, and they were complete. And I thought about selling them as sets, and then I was like, I wonder if it costs more, or if it would be more profitable to sell them as parts. And this is where a video like this on how to start on Bricklink would have come in handy. So I stored them in one bag per set. So like the whole set was in 1 gallon bag taken apart. And then when I sold
Yeah.
pieces, I would have to dig through that bag. Or I'd pour it out into a tray and dig through that bag.
I bought from a guy who had a Bricklink store, and that's how he organized all his parts.
It was miserable.
I can imagine.
After my like second or third order of like rage at trying to find the pieces that someone ordered, I decided to work on a new system of organization. And I sorted the stuff by color from each set, and then I would have a bag of one color, or I'd have multiple bags of the color, and so like there'd be 30 or 40 lots in a bag. So kind of like the acros, but they were in bags, and it was just not ideal organization.
Yes.
And I stayed with bags until recently, as you know.
Yes. Well,
Um,
as proven by those beautiful red Acro Mills units.
Right. I mean, I only bought acros for the first time in November, and I had, I guess I had over 5,000 lots, but almost 5,000 lots consolidated, all in a store, stored in plastic bags.
Yeah.
And I could do a little dissection on a bag if you want.
Yeah. Let's see it.
Here's a bag, because I still have about half my store, more than half my store is in bags, in drawers. And each bag has a number on it with letters. And then inside each bag, there are smaller bags with single letters on them. So, there are a few lots per bag. And that's what my whole store is in. Well, not my whole store. I'm slowly moving it. So every time I get an order right now, since I have a lot of extra time on break from school, every time I pull something, everything from that bag goes into an acro drawer.
Smart.
So I'm like you're doing with your drawers and writing the stuff on top of them. I'm moving all my stuff
Yes.
from bags to acros because it's just so much faster to pick orders.
So
from
are you
acros.
doing an update on Brickstore or manually on the Bricklink side?
I'm manually doing it on Bricklink because
Okay.
I guess I could do it in Brickstore. I just find it doesn't take too long to just, because it's only like I only do like the mini bag inside the bag.
I see.
So I'm not doing like everything from the whole bag, because that would take
Okay.
a lot longer, but like I pull a lot, and there's sometimes there's 5-6 lots per bag, and so then I'll just pour everything into a drawer. I'll just have a drawer on my
Yes.
desk while I'm picking, and yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I am today, and I feel like I'm moving in the right direction with my organization
Yes.
system.
Yeah. Well, you've got Acro Mills on the wall, so I would say you're well on the way. All right. Well, I guess I will follow that up with a less adventurous story. So I've touched on it before, but never fully. So in March of 2020, some of you may be familiar that a a pandemic was rampant in the United States of America. A pandemic which has actually made me sick right now for the first time. Anyway, so I was off of school. I was a senior in high school in 2020 of March. I was off school for that whole period. I got some very nice Uncle Sam money for being unemployed due to the pandemic there. And so I was sort of sitting in my house making money from March 2020 until about June 2020. And I bought a lot of Lego Harry Potter sets in that time, just with the unemployment money, just to build for myself, because I do enjoy some Lego Harry Potter. Um, and then it was that July I got a factory job. It paid like 16.50 an hour. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm gonna be rich. I'm just gonna suck it up. I'm gonna do the do and sort of work for the man. And no hate on those who do or those who don't. I did that for 3 days, and then I called and said I'm not coming in today because I quit. It was fun. I was reading my bullet journal the other day. It was like entry for July or June 28th, I guess, is when I had that job. And it was like quit my job, started taking my Lego sets apart to sell. So the plan then was just to like survive the summer selling built sets I had used. And I wasn't sure if I was going to sell on eBay or Bricklink, so I made a Bricklink account, or I guess I already had one, but I think I submitted for verification just so I could sell the sets. And then, so now we need a flashback, sort of 3 years prior to that. My friend Angelis was moving, and I helped him move and saw his tote of Lego. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I didn't know you liked Lego. I also did and do. I just didn't have any at the time. And we sort of always wanted to sort all his Lego down to individual pieces, I guess just to build, but also just as something to do. Like there's 2 spring breaks where that was the plan and it just didn't happen. And cut this part out because I'm thinking. Okay, so we had always talked about sorting all his Lego out, just if not to sell, then to build. So then when I started taking mine apart to sell, I sort of told him, I was like, hey, we could just use this Bricklink. My buy-in can be all these sets I have. Your buy-in can be these bulk parts you have. Sort of even value, market value for resellers. So we spent 2 weeks sorting everything into color, and about $300 on storage drawers and totes for things sorted by color that got donated 2 weeks later. And I remember distinctly the day we realized that color sorting was terrible for cataloging on Bricklink. We're like, oh, I think it'd be better to do a part type. So we defeatedly poured everything back into one bin and then started sorting. And then it was 6 broad categories. It's now 24. So we worked on that for about a month and uploaded parts into, I think, like 6 Acro Mills units and 10 shoe bins. And then on August 1st, 2020, I was itching to go, so I told Angel, I think if we open now, we'll get some orders, and I got 6 orders that night. Lo and behold, a lot of my first month success was due to very low set prices. But in any case, got a lot of orders that first month and started sort of buying more bulk lots and refining how I sorted and uploaded them. Angel had to go to college. I bought him out. He's now working here when he can, which is nice. So then it was just me, and I was selling. I was also going to school at the time. I was taking 2 classes at the community college. But mainly what that consisted of is a Zoom class going on in the background while I was uploading tiles or whatever. So then for about a month, I was in my bedroom, and then I it was getting too hectic in there. I couldn't really move around. So I looked at storage units. There was one that was really nice, 3 minutes from my house. So I went there and I just went for it. I was paying about $200 a month, I think, for that storage unit, and for 6 months it was there. And then I was supposed to move out with somebody and be in their basement, so I moved the store there for a weekend, which turned out to be a month because I actually went on vacation while it was there. And then that didn't work out for one reason or another, so I moved it back to the storage unit. And then 6 months after that, I found this place, and I signed the lease, as you can see in previous videos, and got the retail going. There's still no videos of the retail, working on that obviously, but here I am, and it's been crazy. It's just, if there's one takeaway from my success, however fleeting it may be, is to just put stuff for sale, and it's the only one thing that everything that sells has in common, is that it was put for sale.
Definitely had some back and forth. Not quite as straightforward as I thought it actually was. I didn't realize you had moved so many times.
Yeah,
you told me that, but
yeah, I'm surprised how many times I've moved, because it feels like a big undertaking, and it is, but in reality, you can sort of, with two people, get it done in a day. Probably not now that I have the retail.
Right. Well, shall we move on to our next segment?
Yes, that would be great. And would you like to tell these lovely people watching, Nikki, what our next segment?
I am so excited.
Yeah, this will hopefully be an episodical, every episode type deal.
Yeah. So for those of you who use Bricklink and sell on Bricklink and like to sell used parts,
yes,
this is for you.
That's the key. Yes.
This is our weekly winners.
Yes,
we have hand-picked some specific parts that you find pretty frequently in bulk used Lego that sell for more than you would expect them to.
Yes. All right, I'll lead us off here with our first part. It's one of my favorites. It's been prominently featured in a few videos of mine. It's part number 4095, bar 6.6L with stop ring, patio umbrella stand. And this one is a very nice part because in light bluish gray. The last 6 months sales average at the time of filming this on a used light bluish gray bar 6.6L is $5. And it's super nice, especially because it's such a small sort of niche part that when you buy by weight, the return on investment is huge. It was in 21 sets, mainly around 06, 07, maybe 05. But they were all, except for a few Star Wars sets, so those familiar with buying used Lego will know, like, Star Wars is something that crops up quite a bit because it sold well back then, meaning it's in a lot of used now. So you'll find it, I probably find it once a month, once every other month, and it's just a nice little surprise whenever I do.
It's also good in dark bluish gray, although it's only in 2 sets.
Yes,
but I found a few of them recently, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our next part is my favorite winner. I think it's my favorite winner. It is part 75535. Technic pin connector round 2L without slot pin joiner round.
Yes.
It looks a lot like the really sort of common version of it,
which is 62462.
Yeah, with the slot, but it doesn't have a slot. And it's good in light bluish gray and dark bluish gray. It's more common in light bluish gray. It's here on Bricklink, it says it comes in 18 sets, and at the time of recording this, the average for a used one is $4. And yeah, I mean it's similar to the 6.6L in that it's pretty weightless. It's a light part, and it's people don't really notice it either. You know, it's not like something someone's gonna pull out of a bulk lot or anything. It's like if they're looking for good stuff or whatever.
That's not something that the shop goodwill employees screening for their auctions there.
Yeah. And then do you want to do our last part?
Yes. So this last one isn't one I'm totally stoked on in that I'm like super enthusiastic. It's just one that I find a lot. Um, and I guess I do have sort of a fond memory in that I did have this part as a kid because it was in the original Burrow set. So the part in question is the dark tan plant prickly bush 2x2x4, part number 6064, and at the time of filming sells for an average of $3.16. So this one's sort of less inconspicuous than the other two, but one that I come across enough that I feel like it's definitely worth mentioning, and you should look out for it. You could almost say you should be on the lookout for this.
Bolo, this
Yeah,
part.
Bolo the Dark Tan Bush, please. So those are our three weekly winners. We hope you bolo those and sell them and sell them well. So the sort of main content for this episode theme is all the beginner questions that are burning in your heart and in your soul that you want to know. Should I start Bricklink? What do I need? What sort of things should I sell? How should I store parts, ship, etc.? So our first question here on my notes is, should I start a Bricklink store? So Nikki, I am an 18-year-old because you need to be for Bricklink, and I am asking you because I've seen those lovely acros on your wall. Nikki Zeljo from Avenue, should I start a Bricklink store?
No. In fact, my belief though actually is that yes. If you think it's gonna be fun, yes.
Yeah,
If you're not worried about making money, especially in the beginning, and you're doing it for fun, like I didn't make any sort of money at all doing this until like the last 3 or 4 months, and
yeah,
that's because I took forever to find out like a good organization system and really kind of stick to sorting. But yeah, I mean it takes a lot of time. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my like if you're willing to put in the time and you really enjoy like sorting and shipping stuff, then yes.
yes. I will agree. And going off of that, I I think in any sort of venture that the I guess rose tinted final goal, even if it could happen realistically, in any venture where the goal is to be your own boss, it needs to be, I think, just philosophically should be something you enjoy doing regardless of money. Um, the driving force being like you could feel like you're doing something fulfilling for society. Not to get too deep into that, but yes, like you said, if it's something you could do, let's say 1,000 hours before seeing any sort of material gain from it, then I would consider it. I would seriously consider starting.
That's I think that's a good hour limit too.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah,
yeah,
that
definitely it's important to be able to like if you don't like Lego and sorting Lego, not it's not the right
not the
venture for
route to
you.
take there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do also want to point out to this. A lot of people, or I guess I should say, a lot of stores on Bricklink I see are people selling extra stuff from their personal collection. So they sort of use Bricklink as a way to self fund the hobby. And I guess that's definitely a way to do it. I think you just need to sort of be clear, at least to yourself, because that's obviously who it matters the most. Is why you're sort of doing Bricklink, and if it's to fund a hobby, then you could definitely do that. My only sort of critique of that sort of mindset is that even funding a hobby, even you still need to get the orders, and it's just really hard to get any sort of capital back when you again, it's hard to put a number on these things, but when you have, let's say, less than like 2 or 3,000 lots, just because the chances of you getting on somebody's wanted list, autofill or what have you, without having insanely cheap prices is just a very hard thing to do.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like if you're doing it to just fund your own hobby and you have like a small store, don't expect to get a lot of orders, like uh,
Or any.
or any at all. Like you might get like one or two a month,
Yeah,
depending on how big your store is. But like be
yeah.
prepared for that.
Another thing I guess I want to sort of add is a sort of funny revelation I had when I was hanging out with my cousin in my store once. Or he was like he came in and was like watching me work or whatever. Uh, is sort of a lot of people think the bulk of Bricklink as your job or side hustle, what have you, is the packing of the orders and the actual selling of the thing. That, especially when you start, is going to take up about 10% of your time.
Or
Um,
less.
yeah, or less. What I think the important thing to realize is that you need to be really disciplined because the the packing of the orders and the shipping are in some essence things you need to do because there's a deadline on that. Somebody's paid for this product, it needs to get to them. So it's not that hard to sort of convince yourself to pack an order and ship it and feel like you've done something. But what the day-to-day sort of clock in, clock out of Bricklink work is actually putting items for sale. So you need to have a tried and true, or at least true and not yet tried method of processing parts, sourcing them, and getting them for sale in a timely manner.
So David West, accomplished Bricklink and retail Lego seller. If I wanted to start a
Some
Bricklink
say,
store,
some say.
some say, if I wanted to start a Bricklink store, how would I go about doing that, and what would I
Hmm.
need in order to do so?
That's a striking question, Nikki. I think obviously lots of people have this question. Um, the main thing you need is time and space, and more so time than space because if you have enough space to consider starting Bricklink, then you should have enough space to start. Like if it's not something you can immediately rule out due to no space at all, then you could probably start with space. Time commitment, it's again tough to say. You're gonna get in what you put out. So if you're only able to work sort of an hour a week, you're you're gonna sort of grind to a halt pretty soon because if that 1 hour a week is just gonna end up being packing orders or whatever. Um, what the obviously main thing you need is Lego and a good expandable way to store it. So this is where you can sort of be creative, and I recommend doing at least some further research outside of this video of actual hardware for storing parts for sale. And there's lots of ways to do it. There's several I've seen on the Just a Brick in the Bucket Discord that are really interesting and sort of nice solutions that aren't acro mills, but the bulk of sellers I see, and that I'm sure most of you have seen, use the small drawers, or some call it stack-on cabinets, these acro mill style things. And I do think that's a good place to start because I don't want to use this sort of harsh language of it weeds out the hobbyists, but it does sort of represent that it could be sort of a representative of the metaphorical wall that you need to go through. Like you do need to sort of put some capital into it up front, and you got to sort of decide if it's going to be something that you're scaling or whatever. But at least in my opinion, it's just really good to start that way in the long run because it's the easiest, it's the simplest. You put a part in a drawer and then you type in the remarks field the drawer number.
So to add on to that, I coming from me as someone who started selling out of bags and bins, not having these drawers, they are so useful. You
Yeah.
can start with bags, but you're gonna spend a lot more time packing orders, and it's gonna be a lot more frustrating to organize your parts. Um, so yeah, I do highly recommend putting in the money and getting the drawers. It's
Yeah.
totally worth it.
And again, it's a one-time expense. Like even if you eventually need more drawers anyway, like I've got like drawer number 1 in there. I've been emptying it and refilling it since, August 2020, and I paid for it then, and it's just always like sort of giving me returning compounding gains since then.
One thing I want to add to this too also is that when I was like thinking about getting drawers, or like when I would see people with drawers, I always assumed, as someone who had never really communicated with other Bricklink sellers or anything like that, that people just had one part per drawer,
Oh,
like
yeah.
one lot per drawer, and that's not the case. You can pack as many as you want into
Yeah,
one drawer.
you can actually this I'm going to take a line from Chris James over from the Great Brick Lab here. He says all you need is to know where the part is when it sells. And that's very true. So that can mean that there are 50 different lots in drawer 72 or whatever it may be. And Nick is showing us there the yellow sorting tray. One sec. I'm actually arm's reach from 3 of them. So this is a great tool as well. So what I like to do when I'm picking orders is I just dump the drawer out onto here, and it's easy to find the parts that have sold on the pick list there. So if you're looking to save the space and a little bit of money, I mean my sort of personal thinking on it is I paid for this drawer. I want it to be holding a lot of parts and as much sort of dollar value as possible. So I try to keep my drawers full so that I can delay expansion as long as possible, but also get my money's worth there.
Do you want to go grab that one drawer you showed me that on Help Packed?
Yeah. So here we have an example. This is drawer 2348. So as you can see, there's quite a few different lots in here, and the great thing about this is I just can always pour it out on the tray like so, and you can sort of see just whatever I need to on there. Obviously the camera's not lending itself very well, but all I need to know is where these parts are when they sell, and that's done through the remarks code. The storage is a different game. I guess we should probably point out now is basically it's 2 different ventures selling new parts on Bricklink and selling used parts. It's essentially like 2 different businesses that work very well together. Just like selling Lego in a retail store and selling Lego parts online. They're 2 different things that you can synergize or do separately, but definitely I would definitely say focus on one to start and make that one the used parts. Buy by weight and upload everything.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, that's kind of the question is that you should ask yourself is new or used. And David and I both are big advocates for used Lego.
Yeah, we're those used parts guys.
That's David West, right? He's that used part guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean the benefits of used over new are, let me see if I can, the ones that I can remember off the top of my head, or that I know off the top of my head are you make higher profit percentage.
Yes.
Where like a pound of used Lego sells for what, like $50, between 40 and 50.
Yeah, part it out. That's
that's that, like once you get it listed, that's, I don't think that's not really including damaged parts.
Yeah.
But even still, that is a way, unless you're paying some crazy amount for your used, that's a way higher percentage than if you're buying new, because new sellers usually go for around, like, what, 3 times is kind of the rule.
That's the famous number, made famous by the Just a Brick in the Bucket guys, is the 3-time part out there.
Yeah. And
Which
I
I should
definitely have
add.
bought some parts.
I think they adapted that from Brickzar.
Yes, I think I remember first hearing a number like that from Brixar, and um, yeah, I definitely have bought a few. That's one thing is if you're buying new, don't just buy like one set.
Yeah.
uh,
You want some quantity, and I'll add this is if you were readily able to buy 15 of a set that parts out well, so was dozens of other Bricklink sellers.
yeah,
So this is one thing that makes Derek so successful from Pop's Block Shop is he does the like 20 quantity set part outs of new parts that again most people have for sale. But he supplements this with used minifigure parts, parting out retired used sets, and really getting the variety up there, as well as having like very good customer service, repeat customers, free shipping, etc. The point being, it's going to be very hard to scale a store of only new parts found on Walmart clearance items that part out for 3 times.
it's true. At least me on Bricklink, when I'm ordering stuff, I'm looking for sets to complete or parts to complete old sets.
Mm-hmm.
And what new set is gonna have specific parts from old sets? Where are you
Very
gonna get
few.
those? Where are you gonna get those parts?
Yes. And I this is something that's sort of a maybe an intangible or an aside is the buying used. You don't know what you're gonna get, and some could see that as a negative. I see it as a complete positive because it's super fun. I've pitched this thought experiment here to Nikki as the thought experiment of the infinite monkeys with the infinite typewriters. The idea being that if you left infinite monkeys in a room with infinite typewriters, they would eventually type every novel ever written by a human, as well as The Secret to the Universe and everything else, because a random set infinitely getting larger. But I use that to compare to the used Lego, which is that I know. So for example, one of my dream sets to get back that I had was a kid is the Black Pearl. I could spend $800 to get that sealed or 400 to get it used, or I could keep buying used Lego, and I know eventually I'll find it partially built and be able to complete it.
And
That's
and what's more satisfying?
yeah, exactly. It feels it's very rewarding to find these high valued things that are essentially dejected, and not to like morally high road anyone, but I do think you are sort of doing a service. You're curating and giving these Lego parts a new life. Especially if you're buying from secondhand places like Goodwill, they were donated, and you get to sort of rehome them. So, good friend, esteemed colleague of the show, Nikki Zelja, what are our hopes, or at least yours, for this here part out pod?
So yeah, while we are popping, um,
It's popping.
yeah, I would love to just, I mean, if we can stay consistent with this and make more of these, this is kind of like, I know there are other people who make, podcasts on this stuff and videos on this stuff, but I just think that there just are never enough resources out there for people trying to
Yes.
start in this, or people like I constantly am watching other Bricklink YouTubers, and just like while I'm like picking orders or
Yeah.
parting stuff out or whatever, I'm constantly watching that, and just to add something to that would be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can definitely plus one that statement. I think I'm there every day. I'm caught up with the newest Lego reseller content. So I'm sure there's more of you like that out there, and I just hope it's a new year, so we can sort of resolve to be consistent, and I hope we can help people out and maybe provide some entertainment, if you will, to the other Lego resellers and maybe just people interested in Lego in general.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely am also on here like I'm all like whenever I'm talking to you, I'm learning stuff. I mean, of course, when we talk, I'm always asking you questions and stuff because I think that, um, so that's another plus of at least my part in this podcast is that I get to learn stuff too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
we do have some plans
Yes.
for ideas, I guess, that we would like to do on this
Yes.
podcast, or maybe, yeah, I don't know if everything is going to necessarily be in the podcast, or but at least on your channel.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely want to get as many sellers on here as we can. I think we're gonna work on some sort of Google form and hopefully have it in the description of this video. Just a short sort of shoot us your store link, and if you have any social media or YouTube, you could attach that as well. But I wanna have lots of people on here. And the goal is to ask everybody the same bare bones questions, but not like institutionalize it, make it boring, but so that we can just see that there's so many ways, and the real takeaway is there's no right way to do Bricklink, um,
Yeah,
except for if your store's like DNA Bricks, that's the right way.
right, of course.
Just kidding.
I definitely also, to add on to that, I'd love to have not like even small sellers,
Yeah,
not just like bigger sellers on Bricklink, or other people who do like YouTube stuff, or other content.
yeah. Any
Anyone who like is watching this and has a Bricklink store, or even like wants to open a Bricklink store, like just
Yeah,
fill out the form, and
yeah.
we'll work something
I
out.
I would love to see you all, because I know even just in the just a brick in the bucket Discord, and I'm gonna hard plug that every podcast. I'm head mod there, but there's I've seen and learned most, like I owe honestly my what's now my day job is selling Lego. I owe so much of that to people in there teaching me things, and there's so many people who don't have YouTube there, but I would just love to sort of give them the sort of the platform to sort of show off their different methods and what have you.
Yeah. That's gonna be a lot. That's like, I think what I'm looking forward to most on
Yeah,
this
and
podcast is talking to other sellers.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
As well as that, we're hoping to do some games. The one that I'm most stoked about, and this one might be on the Just a Brick in the Bucket channel. I'm not sure. I still need to talk to Evan more, but the Price is Right. Look out for that. And I think we talked about, as well as having on whatever game or sort of activity it may be, we should have sort of the straight man character of
yeah,
somebody who doesn't know anything about Bricklink selling.
yeah. I mean, I play these games. I love like coming with ideas for these games you can play with stuff like this, and I play a lot of sort of little games where like I have my friends, like who don't
Yeah,
know anything about Bricklink or Lego or anything, guess the value of a certain part. Like I'll just pull
yeah,
apart like, how much do you think this is, or give him a few parts and be like, hey, which one's the most expensive?
yeah, yeah.
And
It's
and
very
so if we have like at least one person on for those, like that doesn't know anything about it, I think it's great.
yeah. That would be really fun, and hopefully not excruciating for them.
Right, exactly. It's got to be someone who will
Yeah,
have fun with it. But
yeah, and also maybe not the same person every time, because
yes, of course.
yeah, I can remember specifically. I had the dark red tail from the Smaug dragon from The Hobbit.
Hmm.
That's like I sold that for $70. I paid $70 for the lot it came in. But I was like showing my girlfriend that part. I'm like, how much do you think this is? And this was after I'd done this game with her a few times, so she's like trying to be right. She was like, oh, it's $12. I'm like, yeah, it's 70. And
Yeah.
I guess another plug to that Discord. I sold the part to a guy on that Discord. He was looking for it. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yet another reason to buy used Lego.
Yes.
You buy a new set, you're not going to find one part that pays for the set.
No. Because otherwise everybody would be doing that.
Although new sets not always behind me. I have a there right there. You see that Lego logo? That is a new set from like the early 2000s. The R2D2 droid, like one of
Oh,
they made all
nice.
those Star Wars droid like out of like hoses and stuff, like
The
Technic.
Technic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
picked that up for $40.
Yeah, I guess that's one stipulation, and maybe you can just cut this out anyway. But we should like when we talk about new parts, like I mean production part sets that are.
Yeah, no, I think we should
Uh,
keep that in. Is that when we're not? And I can move this back to the other section,
Yes, but when I say sell used parts, that doesn't mean I'm anti new condition parts. Like I find sealed bags from sets in bulk lots and part those out. I mainly mean new, meaning things that are readily available, and used, meaning retired products.
Although not solely retired products, because you buy
Yes.
used, you're gonna get sets that are current, and that's fine. That's not bad.
Yeah, because the assumption there is that you've paid a lot less than you would have.
Yeah.
All right, one sort of segment we wanted to do. This was Nikki's idea. Is to sort of recap our numbers each episode, just so that we ourselves can look back at it. So, DNA Bricks on Bricklink is at 2,218 total orders right now. 1,091 placed in the last 6 months, and 568 feedback the last 6 months.
And also, do we want to go over like inventory stats too, like how many
Yeah,
lots
sure.
and parts?
I'm at 245,574 parts in 23,635 lots. That's unconsolidated.
All right. Yeah. So my store Avenue is
That's
store.bricklink.com/store.
store.bricklink. Yeah.
I'm at 447 orders, and in the last 6 months, 215 orders,
Very strong.
and overall 243 feedback, and in the last 6 months, 96 of that. So on the uptrend.
Yes.
Yeah, total items 31,841 in 5,881 lots. And that again is unconsolidated lots.
And that'll be a whole nother episode, is the great wave of unconsolidation, which I think is the greatest renaissance that's happened to Bricklink. Shout out Chris James, GBL.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you, folks, for watching. It's been really fun. Nikki, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you later.